Alrighty, so it's time to do another News of the Week episode. Again, I know the News of the Week episode cycle has kind of gone out of whack as the start of 2022. I mean, the first two episodes I basically do on days that I usually don't do News of the Week episode. I mean, I usually do it on Wednesday and Saturday. But nevertheless, there was some big news that kind of came out of MLS and something that we've been waiting for it to happen, and it finally happened. RSL finally have an owner. As today it was announced that David Blitzer and Ryan Smith Entertaining Group will purchase RSL and become the new owner of the team. Now, obviously, that has to be great news for RSL, who's, throughout this year and a half pretty much being owned by MLS and MLS kind of controlling all their movement, that they finally have an owner where they don't have to be restricted by the league itself. And, certainly both of these men have said good things about how they're going to build RSL to be a team to once again be an MLS Cup contender, and they have said that run that they made in the Western Conference Final was not just a fluke, and that it seems like it's going to be something that could happen and try to guide this RSL team to be a decent team. We'll see how that's going to happen. But as of now, again, RSL fans are probably over the moon that finally they have an owner and finally they can maybe get started in terms of getting some signings and getting some transfer done. And one thing that I think they're definitely looking for this new ownership group, or at least in this front office to do, is sign Albert Rusnak on a permanent contract. And as I'll talk about a little bit later, it seems like that has not happened just yet. Now, Bradley Carnell was named as the first head coach of St. Louis SC, and it's great to see Bradley Carnell gets a chance to become a head coach in MLS, because I really thought he did well when he took over Chris Armas doing his time with the Red Bulls and guiding the Red Bulls to the playoffs. And I've also thought that the Red Bulls kind of did him hard with the way that, he guided the Red Bulls to the playoffs, and he didn't even get a chance to coach the his first playoff game in his coaching career in MLS, and that that was also part of that weird kind of situation where Garrett Stuver literally coached his first game with the Red Bulls in the playoffs. Like, I don't think I've ever seen that happen, where a head coach made his debut with an MLS team and it's literally the playoffs. Like, talk about throwing your employee into the deep end. That is the definition of that. But like I said, I think Carnell is going to do well with St. Louis, and that, I think St. Louis have got themselves a good head coach, and now we'll see how they're going to build their roster heading into next season, because I know they still have 1 year and still have relatively decent time to think about building their roster, but before we know it, they could be coming into the league very soon. I mean, that with the way that it almost felt like this past year, it's kind of surprised that Charlotte is already in the league. Like, it was just a minute ago we were talking about them getting a team and coming into the league, and times can go fast with some of these teams that's going to be coming in as expansion side, that their time is going to happen sooner than they think it would be. Now, moving on in terms of the next news, and now talk about some transfer rumors and some players that are also going to be making the jump to Europe. Well, one of those players is James Sands. He is now going to be going to Scotland and going to Ranger FC after NYCFC sent him on an 18-month loan there. Now, that's actually a relatively long loan spell, and I've also heard that there was a purchase or option to buy that Rangers, of course, could do if they feel like James Sands meet their demand of what they want, and that they can, of course, pay NYC a transfer fee for him. But for this signing itself, I think it's a decent signing. I mean, we knew that James Sands, with the way that him breaking into the U.S. men's national team, it was a matter of time for him to also make the jump to Europe, and I wish him the best and hope that he, of course, will get some good experience and maybe even get some game time too. I mean, Rangers is definitely a powerhouse in Scotland. I know they're doing very well this season in the Scottish Premiership. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Will he, of course, get some minutes? And if he does get some minutes and do well with him, I won't be surprised he is going to be staying with that club. Or maybe if he did really well, Ranger not only will purchase him outright, but also potentially sell him off to somewhere else, which that's also where the option to buy kind of fee, it's going to get interesting. Where is there even a clause on the option to buy where there's a sell on fees that NYCFC, of course, can get if Rangers decide to sell James Sands to another club. Now, another player that is making that jump to Europe is Richie Larea. Now, this one isn't officially confirmed yet, but it's getting close. There is a report suggests that Richie Larea is set to leave Toronto FC to join English Championship side Nottingham Forest. I don't want to pronounce that wrong there, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people from the UK that is watching this, they're going to get on my case for pronouncing the city and their club wrong. But yeah, he is going to be going to Nottingham Forest, and I think that's a good club for him to start. I mean, we've seen a lot of MLS players that have decided to use the English Championship as one of the way to kind of continue the development of their career. I mean, we saw Daryl DK, especially now, him going to West Brom, and this could be the same case with Richie Larea. Though, you know, I haven't really been paying a lot of attention in terms of the championship and the standing itself, so I'm not quite sure where exactly Nottingham Forest is in the standings and whether or not if they are pushing for promotion. But you know, if they are pushing for promotion and if they do get promoted to the Premier League alongside with West Brom, man, we're gonna get a chance to see Daryl DK and Richie Larea play in the Premier League, and that should be very interesting. Though, you know, both of them, of course, will have to be in the game, but you know, those are two MLS players, or two former MLS players going against head to head against each other, and this just shows you how much this league has grown and has really started to get the initiative of a league that is want to be a selling league and selling some good talent overseas in Europe. Now, there is a report suggests that Albert Rusnak is interested with both Boca Junior and the LA Galaxy. So going back to what I said about how RSL, their first initiative is that they got to sign Albert Rusnak on a permanent deal. Like I've said that before, I don't think they should let him go. And the fact that he is on the free agency market is kind of surprising, because, you know, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of club that is looking to try to get a guy that not only can score goals, but he can be the true number 10 for their team. And right now it seems like the Galaxy is interesting in terms of that, and especially the number 10 position is one of the area that they are trying to look for. I mean, imagine if you have a Rusnak and Chicharito kind of combination. That is going to be a very deadly dynamic duo. But the other club that is also kind of interesting, as I mentioned, is Boca Junior. And we talk about a lot of times where it seems like MLS team tend to go to Boca to try to get some of their player. And it's going to be weird to see it's kind of the other way around, where MLS player is now going to be going down to Boca Juniors. And that could be the case here for Albert Rusnak. But again, if you're RSL, I think their first initiative is they have to sign on a permanent deal. Like, if they let him go, I think that's a huge mistake on their part, and especially weakening that attack in their sense. And yeah, we'll see whether or not if they're going to do so, or if there's going to be other team that is hungry to try to get probably the best number 10 in this free agency market this offseason. Now the Colorado Rapids have signed Brazilian attacker Matt Alvarez from Fluminense. I think that's how you pronounce that Brazilian. Man, I'm getting bad in terms of pronouncing some of these names, and that name isn't even actually hard to pronounce. But this is kind of a sign that we knew it was going to happen. I mean, I think a couple of News of the Week episode before, I talked about there was a rumor that they were going to sign this kid down in Brazil, and indeed they, of course, have done so. Now, I'm not quite sure, is he going to be kind of the guy that they finally will rely as that number 10 that they've been looking for a long time. I mean, you know, they thought Jonas Namely was the answer in terms of that number 10 position, and no, it doesn't seem like it is. And it's also interesting to see, you know, whether or not if he's going to be made as a DP player. I mean, I didn't read too much into finding out if they're going to make him a DP player, or in this case a young DP, because he's only 20 years old. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, you know, if he does do well for the Rapids, then I expect this team to be even better than what they are. Because really, when you look at this Rapids team, they're already a really good team, but just one thing that they're missing is that they need that difference maker, and they're hoping that Max Alvarez and maybe, just maybe, one of the DP that they signed a couple of years ago in Jonas Namely can get himself together and be that kind of designated player that they were hoping for when they signed him a couple of years ago. Now, the Colorado Rapids, it seemed like they love to acquire Columbus Crew defender, because they acquired another Columbus Crew player, and it also seems like they love to to acquire a guy by the name of Abubakar, because now they acquire another Abubakar, and this time it's Abubakar Keita from Columbus in exchange for up to 450,000 general allocation money, and I can't wait to see the Abubakar partnership. Like I've said before, how I think a couple of years and talk about pronunciation, I just completely butcher Lawless Abubakar name so many times, but as I got used to it, I started loving that name, and now I get to say it twice with the way that there could be a Abubakar backline partnership for the Rapids this coming season with Keita and also Abubakar in that back line, or in this case with Lawless in that back line. But overall, I think it's a good signing in a way that I think he definitely have some good talent, and we have already seen when the Rapids did get one of their defender from the Crew that is also named Abubakar, he turns out to be a huge hit. And even though 450,000 seems like a lot for a defender, believe me, the Rapids, they're not afraid in terms of signing players from within the league, and we've seen that they have done a great job in terms of getting guys that might not be the best player in the league, but they're a player that is MLS proven, and they can definitely do very well in the league when they of course acquire them. Now the Columbus Crew, they did of course make a signing besides shipping off one of their defender, and they signed winger Yoba, I think that's it you pronounce, from Wisla Krakow in the Polish league, and I think this might be either a replacement for Luis Diaz or maybe a backup option for him, or maybe I think he actually plays either in the left or on the right wing, so this could also maybe be a replacement for Pedro Santos, knowing the fact that Santos is starting to get up to this age. Now I don't know a lot about this kid other than the fact that he's a very pace-deep player, and when you're a winger, you're supposed to be a guy that has a lot of pace, and I'm going to be interested to see will he of course use that pace to burn the fullbacks in this league and do very well on the flank area. And though I will say that pace is definitely one thing a wingers need to have, also be interesting to see how he's going to do in terms of his delivery into the box, because it's one thing for a winger to have pace, but you also need to have some good delivery into the box, especially crossing the ball into the box, and that's kind of an ability that if you can of course have alongside with your pace, you can definitely be a world class winger. So we'll see whether or not if he could potentially develop that to be the case for the Columbus Crew. But now moving on in terms of the next news, and in kind of a shocking news that kind of came out of nowhere, Ray Gaddis decided to come out of retirement and sign with FC Cincinnati. Now, if you're a Union fan, that has to be almost a kick in the nut, knowing the fact that Ray Gaddis, yes, he of course decided to continue to play, and I always thought that when he retired from the Union, I always thought he was a little bit too young to retire. I thought he still had a couple years left in the tank, and little did we know that it seems like that is the case, because he's decided to come out of retirement, and it's no surprise that he decided to go to Cincinnati, because basically Cincinnati is trying every ways to copy the Philadelphia Union right now. I mean, they already took one of their front office member and made him a GM in Chris Albright, and they also took one of the assistant head coach from the Union in Pat Noonan, and I'm pretty sure both of those guys must have a big convincing for Ray Gaddis to come to this team, because again, I wouldn't think that Ray Gaddis would come out of retirement unless if he decided to maybe join back the Philadelphia Union again, or maybe go to another club that basically have front office members, or at least head coach member that comes from the Philadelphia Union. But nevertheless, in terms of the signings itself, we'll see how Ray Gaddis of course will do. I mean, I don't expect him to be like that prime Ray Gaddis that we saw during his time with the Union, but he's going to be a guy that we know he has a lot of good leadership, and I think the whole reason why Cincinnati decided to sign him is that they need a guy in the locker room that can be that leader, and again, Ray Gaddis is definitely a guy to do so, and also maybe him trying to finally score that first goal in his MLS career. Like, it's hard to believe that he has never scored a single goal in his career in MLS. And I know we have seen before where players have yet to score a goal, and you feel like it's never going to happen. But I think last year we kind of saw a couple of guys finally scoring their first goal after going through a period where we thought that they would never score a goal. And one of those great example of it is Miles Robertson, a guy that we thought he was never allowed to score a goal in MLS and only allowed to score for the national team. Well, it seems like he finally scored his first goals with Atlanta United. So, who knows? Maybe Ray Gaddis will finally score his first ever career goal with FC Cincinnati. And, well, that's definitely great for Cincinnati. I mean, for Union fans, it might be a little bit bittersweet because you want him to score his first goal with your club, and especially with him being such a club legend like that. But also the fact that if he does decide to retire again, then it's kind of unofficially he didn't actually retire with the Philadelphia Union, even though technically he kind of did before he decided to kind of come out of retirement. Now, FC Cincinnati also signed another player during these last couple of days, and they signed Don Badji off of free agency. Now, I'm kind of surprised the Rapids decided to cut Don Badji, because I thought with him coming back to the Rapids, it was a perfect storm of him kind of create a bit of a redemption arc of his time with the Rapids, and he kind of showed that last season. I mean, when he was joined from the Rapids late in the season, he kind of started to go back the old Don Badji that we know during his time with the Rapids. So I'm kind of surprised they decided to cut him and decided to not re-sign him. But Cincinnati just feel like, yeah, thanks, I'll take one Don Badji and hope that he can, of course, do well. I mean, I think Badji, as much as he is a bit of a journeyman in MLS, if he is in the right environment, he can still be a lethal goal scorer. Though I will say that it's pretty clear that he's probably not going to be the main number 9 for this team. I mean, Brenner is still going to be the main number 9 for this team, but having Don Badji come off the bench for Brenner, I don't think that is necessarily the worst substitution that they can, or worst player to come off the bench. In fact, that could be one of a good option that FC Cincinnati could have heading into this season. Now, DC United have signed Brendan Heinz-Ike on a permanent deal, and this, of course, is a no-brainer considering the fact that, I'm actually surprised to find out that Brendan Heinz-Ike, I thought he was just a kid that is in his 20s and could have a lot of potential of making his move to Europe once he developed to be a decent player for DC United, but he's actually 27 years old, and he actually have some taste of European soccer, playing in Belgium before moving to MLS. But Brendan Heinz-Ike, you definitely saw his quality last season with DC United, and it's just unfortunate that he did suffer that season-ending hip injury in the middle of the season that kind of killed his season. But there's no doubt that DC are completely sold that he is going to be a very decent player in that midfield, and also will give some veteran presence in that midfield, so that they decided to sign him on a permanent deal. Now, Minnesota. So how yesterday when I actually record the Moving Forward series of Minnesota United yesterday, but I literally forgot to upload, and I didn't find out until today that I actually didn't upload my Moving Forward series of Minnesota, and I basically decided to upload it. And one of the things that I talk about in the Moving Forward series is the fact that I'm kind of frustrated that the Loons are basically doing nothing in the off season, and that all I'm seeing is them losing players, and there's just no replacement for all those guys that they're going to lose this off season. And while this player that they signed isn't really going to replace some of the guys that they lost, it is something that, for once, it's a signing. I mean, it feels like maybe the team must have watched my Moving Forward series. Well, I don't think that's the case, because, again, I uploaded the Moving Forward series today, and when this signing was announced, this was before I uploaded the video, but it almost felt like my prayer was answered, that the Loons are actually going to sign someone. And they decided to sign South African international, and I am not even going to try to pronounce his name, because one, not only I'm going to butcher this, but I'm going to butcher it in a way that, if you're a South African watching this, and I know this signing has attracted a lot of South African fans, immediately become a Minnesota United fan, which, first of all, welcome to the club of being a Loons fan. I mean, expect this team to maybe be a playoff contender. Well, I wouldn't say maybe be a playoff contender. I expect this team to be a playoff contender, only they're going to break your heart because that's what Minnesota sports is. But yeah, I'm gonna probably wait until I watch a Minnesota United broadcast and see how Cal Williams pronounced his name along with Kendra St. Albin. Or maybe I'll just wait for the Sounds of the Loons podcast, the official podcast of Minnesota United, and see how Cal Williams and C. McDonough would pronounce his name. Because, like I said, I have no idea how you pronounce that name. And if you're a South African watching this video too, let me know in the comments below how do you pronounce his name properly, because I have a feeling I'm gonna have to need to learn, especially. I always try my best to learn how to pronounce the proper pronunciation of a player's name in the league, especially it's one of the teams that I support. But yeah, he comes from South African side, Maritzburg, I think that's how you pronounce, and he's a guy that is a relatively young player, and it seems like he is signing to come to Minnesota as part of the U22 initiative. And yeah, we'll see how he's going to do. And I think he is going to get some game time, because I have a feeling maybe next year Adrian Heath is trying to go with a 2-striker system and trying to maybe put Hunu and hit this guy in that number 9 spot. And if it of course will work out, then yeah, I think the Loons might have signed a guy that, again, even though I know he comes from a country that it is not known to be a soccer powerhouse, especially in Africa, you never know. He could actually be a decent player, and it's just getting to a point where I'm really hoping that he is going to finally be the guy to finally solve the curse of the number 9 position for this team. Like, this team has not had a good number 9 ever since Christian Ramirez left, and it's almost like Christian Ramirez must have put a curse on this team with the way that he was being disrespected by the Loons front office before decided to go to LAFC. And it seems like on his way out, he just wanted to send one last curse to make sure that there's no number 9 on this team to ever play as good as he is. And let's just hope maybe that curse is going to finally come to an end with this guy being a decent player. And then finally, the last news of the week is Calvin Lear going to the LA Galaxy off of free agency. Now, it was kind of weird to see that Calvin Lear did not work out with Inter Miami, because during his time with Seattle and when Miami signed him off of free agency, I thought that was a really good signing. But like I said, it just never worked out with him being with Inter Miami, really getting into the starting 11 in Phil Neville's side. And it seems like now the Galaxy are looking to try to pick him up off of free agency and maybe rejuvenate his career a little bit. Although I will say that he has started to get up to that age, and I'm not sure if this is maybe just a sign that they are going to sell Julian Araujo off to Europe, because the whole point of them signing him is probably maybe for him to replace the spot that Julian Araujo currently occupied. But if Araujo is going to stay with the Galaxy, I think it's still a good option of bringing Lear down, because he can definitely be a decent option in that fullback position, and he can maybe rediscover his good form that he has with the Seattle Sounders. Then he can maybe even challenge Araujo for that fullback position. But I'm pretty sure Araujo is probably going to win that battle, because like I said, he is considered one of the more upcoming fullbacks in this league that is going to be sold off to somewhere else, either this offseason or somewhere down the line. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for this week's News of the Week episode. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of all these news? And as always, if there's any news I didn't mention here on the board, let me know in the comments below. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.